The ICG is a community of independent market researchers who collaborate, share knowledge and experience to deliver value to fellow members and to clients. If you're an independent researcher and want to connect with over 400 like-minded people, gain access to our knowledge base, get inspiration, support and advice from other members, then why don't you join us? Either visit our website, theicg.co.uk/join, or email us at membership@theicg.co.uk. If you're a client company and want to connect with the largest resource of expert independent researchers in the world, with proven expertise across all markets, categories and techniques, then why don't you contact us? Either visit our website, theicg.co.uk/connect, or email us, connect@theicg.co.uk. If you're a supplier and want to promote yourself to over 400 buyers of research services, then why don't you contact us? Either visit our website, theicg.co.uk/advertise, or email us at admin@theicg.co.uk. The ICG, Expert Independent Researchers. This webinar is kindly sponsored by Summit Studios, who have over 15 years' experience in providing viewing facilities and recruitment for the market research industry. We have 2 purpose-built viewing studios with flexible layouts, plus a large boardroom ideal for meetings and central location tests. With a large respondent database, we love both local and national recruitment projects. Our 3-stage recruitment process ensures high turnout and great respondents. We're well located for both central London and Heathrow Airport, close to shopping centres and busy thoroughfares. Please don't hesitate to get in touch for an informal chat about how we can make your proposed project a reality. As a member of the ICG, we are pleased to offer a year-round 20% discount to all ICG members for our viewing facilities.
Good morning everyone, and thank you very much for joining us on this webinar. So, rhetorical question for you. I wonder if any of you know how many new businesses are started up in the UK every year? Well, the last time I looked, it was about 500,000. That's a lot of businesses. Sadly, the vast majority of those businesses don't live to see their first birthday. Even fewer make it to 5 years, and only about 4% of businesses make it to 10 years. So regardless of how long you've been running your business, I'm guessing that you're on this webinar because you'd like to build a business that can last as long as you want it to and bring you the right sort of clients. So I'm Chantal Cornelius, and I've been running Apple Tree Marketing for nearly 16 years. Back in 2011, I published my first book all about marketing for small businesses and consultants, and then I wrote another one about how to survive your first 10 years in business. Now, I started out, like many consultants, with work coming in gradually, but in the typical feast and famine way. So feast and famine is where you go through peaks and troughs. You'll have times where you've got loads of business coming in and lots of income coming in, and it's all great and wonderful. But you get busy, and the problem with that is that you get too busy to do any marketing. So you stop doing the marketing. You think, it's okay, I don't need to do anything for a while. The problem with that is that the work that you're doing slows down or even dries up and stops. So then what do? You've got to rush around and do more marketing. And you go back up to a peak where you've got lots of work coming in. So it's this continual up and down roller coaster of a ride and business. And it's not much fun. Trust me, I've been there. I spent a couple of years at the beginning of my business life going through the feast and famine. And then I found a way to get out of it. And that was about creating a plan for my marketing. So I worked out exactly where I wanted to go with my business, who my ideal clients were. I worked out what marketing I needed to do to reach those ideal clients. I measured and monitored the marketing that I was doing. And when it looked like I wasn't going to reach my targets, I adjusted the marketing to get myself back on track. Now, all these years on, I still use a marketing plan for my business. I actually have one at the moment, giant flip chart on the wall of the office. And it allows me to keep a steady flow of current clients coming in while giving me the income and the time that I need to do fun things like take time off for holidays. So I'm going to be sharing with you this morning the benefits of taking the time to plan your marketing. I'm going to give you loads to think about because we've got a 9-stage process to get through as quickly as possible. So what I encourage you to do is take notes as we go through this. Scribble things down. I'm actually going to be asking you to write down particular things, and there are a couple of polls that we're going to be doing as we go through the session. But if you have questions, as Arthur said, we're going to do a Q&A at the end. So write down your questions or type them into the box, and we'll go through as many of those as we can when we get there. So where are we going today? This is what we're going to do. We're going to whiz through where your business is now, where you want it to be, what your objectives are. We're going to look at a few strategies that you can use to get you to those objectives. I'm going to introduce you to a very clever little process for finding out who your ideal clients are. We'll then spend a bit of time looking at ideal marketing. Then we'll look at how much it's going to cost, who's going to do it, and how long it's all going to take before we look at the importance of measuring your marketing. And I'm going to introduce you to my two secrets of marketing, which you will actually hear throughout the session, but I'll give you a reminder at the end. So let's crack on. The first thing to think about with your marketing is, where are you now? Before you can make any changes, you need to know where your business is now. It's a bit like if you decide to, let's say, run a marathon. If you set off for training one morning, you think, right, I'm going to run 13 miles. If you've never run anything like that before, you're going to really struggle. It's the same with your business. So what I want you to do as I'm talking through this is write down a few notes. Think about your business. What is it that makes your business really different? Now, I think Arthur said there are something like 400 members of the ICG. That means 399 other people doing fairly similar work to what you individually are doing. So think about what it is that you do differently. It's the same for me. I'm a marketing consultant. There are millions of us out there. So it's really important to know what makes your business stand out. You also need to be really clear on your products and services. What do you actually sell? So if you go to a networking event and somebody says, hello, who are you? You need to have a fairly concise way of saying that. So you've got to be clear. And take some time to think about this, because it may be a while since you've actually sat down and thought, what is it that I actually sell? What are my products? How can people buy from me? When you're a consultant, you're predominantly selling services, which is your time and expertise, and that brings extra challenges for marketing. So get really clear on what services you provide. Think as well a bit about who your competitors are. Now, I don't mean spend hours stressing over them, because there are lots of them, but get an idea of who they are, where they are, what they do differently to you. Quite a good idea is to look at different competitors' websites and see how they talk about what they do. Look at the language that they use, and then think about how you can do that differently. So that's where you are now. The next stage is to think about where you want to be. Every business needs a long-term goal. My current long-term goal for Appletree is a 5-year one. Now, we set this a few years ago, and we're working gradually towards it. However, we've broken it down into medium-term and short-term goals, because if I just said one day, okay, our long-term goal for 5 years is to do this, I could then go to sleep for 5 years, wake up in 5 years' time and go, oh, heck, we've missed it. We haven't got there. So, for instance, if your long-term goal is to double your turnover in 5 years, then a medium-term goal might be to take on X number of new clients within 2.5 years. Short-term goals, I actually have monthly goals for my business in terms of number of clients and projects we're working on and turnover. All of those are aiming towards the long-term goal. Now, I'm going to launch a quick poll, and you're going to have about 30 seconds to answer this. And what I'd like to know is, do you have a long-term goal for your business? And you should see popping up on your screen a poll where you can click yes or no. So, poll is open, 30 seconds, go. Tell me if you've got a goal or not. Okay, so 41% of you who are on this call and who responded have a goal and 59% of you don't. That's about right, actually. That's what I'd expect. A good proportion of people do have goals, and that's great. Well done. Make sure, if you've got a goal, make sure it's written down somewhere or stuck on the wall of your office. Share it with other people that you work with. If you don't have a goal, key task for you to work on in the next couple of weeks is think about what you actually want to achieve long term with your business. Let's move on. Stage 3. So we've looked at where your business is now. We've looked at where you want your business to be. The next thing to look at is how are you going to get there? Now, in simple terms, there are 4 ways of growing a business. The first one is about selling more of your existing services to your existing clients. A lot of businesses forget to talk to their current clients and forget that they can sell to them. So, for instance, if you've done a research project for one of your clients, could you do another one for them? If you do one research project a year for a client, could you do 2 a year for them? Talk to them and find out what else they need from you, because they already know and like you and trust you. Obviously they do, because they're working with you and paying you. So they're the people to talk to first. The next strategy to go for is looking to sell new services to your existing clients. Now, again, focusing on your current clients because they already know and trust you. So think about new services that you could promote to them. Are there different research methodologies you could talk to them about? Again, it's about talking to them, finding out what they want to achieve in their business, and coming up with new services. In my business, a lot of the work we do is actually working with clients, helping them with their marketing. But I'm going to be launching an email course in September, and this is going to be promoted firstly to my existing clients because they already know me. So it's a great way of saying, here guys, here's a new thing that you can look at. The third strategy is taking your existing services and promoting them to new clients. So existing services are tried and tested. You've already got clients who are using them, so you should have case studies, you should have examples. You hopefully will have things like LinkedIn recommendations from your happy clients. You can use all of those to approach new clients. In fact, one of the best ways of selling your existing services to new clients is actually by asking your current clients for recommendations and referrals. Now, it's lovely when referrals and recommendations come in. Quite often we get them at Apple Tree and it's a nice surprise. But we're also quite proactive. We actually actively go out and ask for recommendations and referrals. We ask people who they know who could benefit from what we do. Don't be scared of doing it. It's a really, really good way of growing your business. It's also a very, very cost-effective way of growing your business. So it'll help you to stop wasting money on your marketing. The final strategy is selling new services to new clients. Now, if you're a brand new business and you have no customers and you have no tried and tested services, this is where you have to start. This is where I started nearly 16 years ago. It's very scary, but you have to start there. If you've been in business for a while and you already have some good services and you have a good bunch of clients, my recommendation is that you start with strategy 1 and then 2 and then 3 and do as much of those as you can before you go into strategy 4. It's the most expensive, it's the most risky, it's really hard work. So the example I used earlier of my new marketing course, it's a brand new service. Nobody's used it yet. Well, we've got people testing it. But if I tried to promote that to a completely new audience, I would really struggle. So that's why I'm promoting it to my existing customers, and that's why we're testing it and getting recommendations from people who are testing. So that's the thing to think about. So yeah, work through the first 3 strategies. You may find that you work through the first one and you get loads of new business there and you don't need to move on. So strategies. Following on from that, the next thing to look at is your ideal clients. Now, your ideal clients are not everybody with a pulse and a credit card. Times have changed. Because we're all in quite competitive markets now, we really have to look at who exactly we need to be selling to. There will be people out there who don't like you, who don't get you, who don't want to work with you, and that's absolutely fine. You just need to let them go. It's about you getting really clear on the people you want to work with. And 4 things to think about here. Firstly, what are the positive attributes of the people who you really like working with? So I'll give you an example. When I first went through this process, which was probably about 10 or 11 years ago now, and we still use this all the time with Appletree, the things that I wrote onto my list of positive attributes for my ideal clients were things like they're energetic, they're positive, they're open-minded, they're open to suggestion. I'm quite a bouncy Tigger of a person, and I have quite a lot of energy. And I find it really difficult to work with people who have no energy or who are quite negative about everything. So if I meet people, for instance, at networking events, and they say things like, oh, can you persuade me to do some marketing? I politely bounce off in the opposite direction because it's never going to work. And you just need to accept that there will be people where you're never going to have that connection. So what I suggest you do is write down a list of the positive attributes of the people that you really like to work with. The second thing to think about is what makes these people tick? So you can ask questions like, what gets them out of bed in the morning? What do they love about their life and their business and their job? So what makes my ideal clients tick is they want to make a difference. And they're actually running businesses that help other people. And that's something that really resonates with me. If I meet people who are only in it for the money and they just want to grow a business as quickly as they can and sell it just to make a shed load of money, I'm not really interested in that. So have a think about what makes your ideal clients tick. And what you're looking for with both the positive attributes and what makes them tick is a correlation between the people you work with and yourself, because particularly when you run a service business, people are buying you and your time and expertise. If you don't get on with somebody on a personal level as well as a business level, it's going to be really difficult for you to connect with them and to help them with their business. So if when you write your list of positive attributes, you then think, well, actually, I have clients I'm working with who don't have any of these attributes, it might be time to let them go. If that's a bit scary, keep hold of them, but when you're looking for new businesses, make sure that you're looking for the right sort of people. And because like attracts like, when you're really clear on the types of people you want to work with, it just becomes much easier to attract them. I don't do very much marketing for my business. I just bounce around at a few networking events and speak on a few webinars. And I haven't actually had to actively promote my business for over 2 years now. The work keeps coming in, and it's because I'm really, really clear on who my ideal clients are. The third bit to look at in this process is what can your ideal clients expect from you? So what are they allowed to demand from you? So for my ideal clients, they're allowed to expect things like 100% of my effort every time I'm working with them, or every time I'm working on a project for them in my office when they're in their office. Lots and lots of energy and effort. They can also expect that I will bring them the newest, latest marketing tools and solutions if they're right for their business. They can also expect honest feedback from me. So if I see a client saying, oh, I really want to do this sort of marketing, if I know it's not going to work for them through experience and gut feeling, I'll say so. The fourth part of this process, what will make you more attractive? Now, this is where you need to look at the list that you write down for what people can expect from you. If there's anything on that list that you can't do 100% of the time, that's what you need to work on. When I first went through this process, I realized that I wasn't giving my clients honest feedback. If they said, oh, I've got this great idea, I want to do this particular type of marketing, I was a bit too nervous to say, that's not going to work. I don't do that anymore. I am very straight talking with my marketing advice. So if somebody says, got this great idea, if I know it's not going to work, I'll say so, and then I'll give them an alternative. And that actually has attracted a lot more business to my company. So it's really worth doing. Stage 5, finally, we get to talk about marketing. Now, the thing I need to point out with this process is that a lot of people will jump straight in at this stage and they'll start thinking, right, what sort of marketing should I be doing? If you don't know where your business is now, where you want it to be, and how you're going to get there, and who your ideal clients are, there is absolutely no point in trying to figure out what marketing you're going to do, because you can't do it effectively. And I see too many companies throwing money at the marketing, thinking, oh, everybody else is on Twitter or spending money on a website, therefore I must do it too. No, really, really, really spend a lot of time on stages 1 to 4 before you start looking at the best marketing to do. So once you've done stages 1 to 4, what I suggest you do is write down a list of all the different marketing tools that you think might work to get you in front of your ideal clients. I usually split these into offline and online marketing. So offline marketing includes things like networking, speaking at events, printed marketing like writing books. Some people still use brochures. We're producing a lovely glossy one for a client at the moment. So that's the offline marketing. Oh, exhibitions, going to events and seminars as well. Then write down a list of all the online marketing that you can do. Now this one is growing all the time. So things like websites, webinars, social media, lots of different social media tools, writing blogs, sending email newsletters, using LinkedIn, using video. There are masses of things that you can do. So have a bit of a brainstorm and come up with a list of all the things that you think might work for your business based on stages 1 to 4. Now this list can be as long as you like. That's absolutely fine, because what you need to do then is stage 6. Think about how much each of these might cost. So let's say you've got networking on your list of potential marketing activities. You need to then think, okay, how much is this networking going to cost? And what can I afford? Now, there are different ways of setting a marketing budget. You can go for what I like to call the 10% method. So this is where you allocate about 10% of your turnover to your marketing. So you can look at what that means, what you then have to spend and decide how to use it. There's the how much have I got method. So this is where you look at what funds you have available, what you could allocate to promote your business for the next, say, 12 months. And then there's the how much does it cost method, which is if you've got a bigger budget, you can look at all the different things you want to do, work out how much it's going to cost, and then decide if that's actually the right way to go. So let's take networking. Let's say you've set your 10% budget. Look really closely at how much it's going to cost to do this. So you've got the cost of actually attending a meeting. You might have to pay to attend a meeting. You've got the cost of the petrol to get you there, or the train fare. You've got the cost of your time to get you there and back. Think about all of these things. Don't just think, oh, it's only £10 to go to the meeting. Think about all of it. And if there are marketing activities on your list that you're not going to be able to afford, that are just going to cost too much, take them off your list. So you start whittling down the size of the list that you wrote as part of part 5 of the process. The next thing to do with your list is think about who's going to do it. Now, if there's just you in the business and you're not a marketing consultant, you probably need to look for some help. There's a certain amount that you can do yourself. For instance, things like networking and speaking at events. That's really important that you go and do it. But you need to think about who else can help. And ways of working out who's going to do things for you. Think about things like, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Do you like going networking? Personally, I love it. I love speaking in public, so I do a lot of that to promote my business. What about writing? Do you enjoy writing? If you do, then things like email newsletters and blogs are great. If you loathe the idea of having to write down anything vaguely creative, then you need to think about getting somebody else to come in and help. If you're not a graphic designer or a website developer, don't try and do your own work. Look for somebody who can help. So take off look at your list that you wrote in part 5 and think about what you can do. Think about who else can help you and where to find help. So there are 400 of you in the ICG. There are bound to be other people who've been through what you're going through, who have got ideas for you and who can help. So share ideas. If you go networking, that's actually a great way to find suppliers, but also to find people who can give you advice. In the early days of my business, 2 things happened. I met somebody who we actually set up what we called a mastermind session. So the 2 of us would meet up on a monthly basis and help each other in our businesses. She was actually a graphic designer and a website developer, so she did all of that side of my business, and I did all the writing and marketing side for her business. So we had a very supportive relationship, and we're still very good friends, even though she lives in Canada. The other thing that I found through networking is that you can do trade-offs with people. I used to go to meetings and invariably there'd be somebody there saying, well, I need some help with copywriting or some marketing, but I'm not sure I can afford to pay for it. So we'd look at how we could do a trade-off with their services, and that worked really, really well in the early days. Networking, online and offline, is also a very, very good way of finding suppliers who can help you. So if you're looking to invest in a new website, talk to people through networks that you go to. Sometimes I put requests out on Twitter saying I'm looking for a printer or I'm looking for XYZ, and I get responses back that way from people saying, yeah, I can help or I can recommend somebody. LinkedIn is actually really good for that. I found a new web designer recently because I put out a request on LinkedIn saying, who's got any recommendations? Who should I work with? So that's a really good thing to do. So think about who can help you to get through all of the things that are on your list from part 5. If you can't do it and you can't find somebody to do it, then you probably need to take it off the list. So for instance, I hate cold calling. I hate cold callers. I tease them mercilessly, which is very mean. But I don't like it. I don't like doing it. I don't know anyone who's particularly good at it, so we don't use that in my business. We probably could do, and it might work, but we don't because we just don't have the right sort of support around us to do it. The next thing to think about is one of the most important areas in marketing, and this is about scheduling your marketing. Now, one of the secrets to really good marketing is that ad hoc marketing does not work. My clients have this drilled into them so they can repeat it in their sleep if need be. Now, by ad hoc marketing, I mean going to one networking meeting, going home, sitting at your desk, waiting for the phone to ring. Ad hoc marketing would also be something like sending out one email blast and then expecting to get hundreds of people signing up to your newsletter. It's not going to work. You have to keep doing it. You have to keep the drip feed, and if you don't, that's where you get into feast and famine. I'm working with a client at the moment. I'm mentoring her, and we have phone calls every 2 weeks, and occasionally she'll say, oh, I haven't had time to do any marketing, I'm really busy. So my job is to help her find the time and prioritize the marketing so that she keeps doing some marketing, because I know what will happen if she doesn't. She'll finish the project she's working on now and she'll have no business coming in and no money to spend on marketing. She'll be back down in the trough of the feast and famine. So what you need to do is create one of these. Now, this is just a really simple example of a 1-month schedule. So, and there are just some examples of marketing that you could be doing in here. So, for instance, I go to 2 regular networking meetings a month. One of them is a lunch that's on the first Tuesday of the month, so that was this week. The other one is an afternoon and evening event, which is on the 3rd Thursday. Now, the dates of these events are in my diary for the rest of this year, which means that I will go to all of them. It means that if a client turns up and says, oh, could we do a session on this day? The answer is no, I'm really sorry, because I've got this event, and that's really important for me. So create a schedule, use a spreadsheet, a big sheet of paper. Like I said earlier, I have a flip chart on the wall in the office for this. Put the key dates of events in. I also publish a monthly newsletter called Scribbles. It goes out without fail on the 3rd Wednesday of every month, which means that in the first week of the month, a note flashes up in my to-do list saying, write Scribbles. And I actually, at the beginning of this year, I sat down and planned out all the topics for the whole of this year that I was going to write about. So I know what to write about so that it doesn't come to writing time and I'm not sitting there going, oh, heck, I don't know what to write about. I do the same with my blog. Now, I write a blog once a week, and at the moment, I'm writing them in series. So each month, I do 3 blogs, part 1, 2, and 3. This month, it's all about websites. So I know what I'm aiming for, and then in week 4, I use the copy from the newsletter that went out the week before. So it's all planned, it's all ongoing, it's not ad hoc. We do a certain amount of work on Twitter as well, so we'll have a certain number of tweets going out every day. And then I look for speaking engagements. So on my flip chart in the office, this webinar has been up there in big red numbers, felt pen letters, for the last few months since Arthur and I set it up. So it's about planning ahead with your marketing, scheduling work in. Now, this is going to sound really crazy given that it's the beginning of June, but yesterday I received an email from the company that I buy Christmas cards from. Yeah, I know. Last year they sent me their catalogue through the post in July saying if you order by the end of August, you get a 20% discount. Yesterday, the email came through saying, if you'd like to order some samples, we'll send them to you. And if you order by the end of June, you get a 25% discount. Guess what I'm going to be doing by the end of June? Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous, but I am going to be ordering the Christmas cards because we send them out to all of our clients and our contacts. By ordering them early, we get a really juicy discount. It means that it's not last minute. We don't have to worry about it. So the box will arrive in the summer, it'll go into a cupboard, and then at the beginning of November I'll get the cards out and I'll start handwriting the envelopes and I'll start handwriting notes inside all of them. And then by the beginning of December they'll all be in their little envelopes with a stamp on and they'll be ready to go. So it means that they're done, people receive them before they close for Christmas, and it's something that we don't have to worry about. And it means we get a lovely discount. So that's one of the reasons for scheduling your marketing. So create this sort of this schedule, create something. Even if there's only you in your business, draw it out, write it, stick it on the wall so that you've got it and you can hold yourself to account. If there's more than just you in the business, definitely share it with the rest of the people and stick it on the wall so that everybody knows what's going on. Stage 9, measuring your marketing. Now, I'm going to launch another poll here actually. So what I'd like to know here is, do you measure your marketing? And you have 3 options: yes, sometimes, and no. Again, no right or wrong answers, but 30 seconds, quick fire, tell me whether or not you do or don't or sometimes measure your marketing. And while you're doing that, I'll tell you why measuring your marketing is so important. It's because the second great secret of marketing is that in order to make it cheaper and more cost effective, you need to do more marketing that works and less marketing that doesn't work. The only way you're going to know whether your marketing is working or not is by measuring it. Now, the last time I looked, which was about 2 weeks ago, I did a quick check on all of our current clients, and we record how they heard about us, how they first heard about us. 45% of my current clients came through networking, so they've met me at some networking event that I've been to. 9% of my current clients are working with us because they heard me speak at an event. 36% have come through referrals, and 10% have come through LinkedIn. So they're people that I've met or connected with on LinkedIn. And again, like I said, there are no right or wrong answers here, but what's really, really important is that you know what these are. So I know that networking and referrals are the most effective ways of promoting my business. So guess what I spend most of my time on? Networking and referrals. Now, that doesn't mean that you should stop doing everything else. So my email newsletter, my blogs, my tweets are all very important because, particularly for generating referrals, what will happen is I might meet somebody at a networking event. They will then refer me to somebody else. that somebody else will go and look for my website. They'll look for me on LinkedIn. They'll check out my social media profile and see what I'm talking about. If they like what they see, they're more likely to phone me and say, you've been recommended. Sorry if you can hear a phone ringing. It should shut up in a minute. So it's really, really important to measure your marketing so that you can keep doing more of what works and less of what doesn't. And there's an answer phone going as well. How very unprofessional. I'll throw the phone out the window. So let's look at the results. And the results of the poll says, what have we got here? So 14% of you have said, yes, you always measure your marketing. Congratulations, that 14%. You get a gold star, a prize. 31% of you have said you sometimes measure your marketing. Okay, well, that's not too bad, so you need to do a bit more. And 55% of you have said, no, you don't measure your marketing. So if I ran this poll again in a week's time, I would hope that the answer to that would be 100% yes, always. So start measuring your marketing. Look at it on a monthly basis. Look at where your clients have come from and your prospects, and measure your marketing. So how are we doing? We're nearly there, guys. So 2 secrets of great marketing. When I'm actually running this as face-to-face workshops, I get people to shout it out. So I'm hoping that if I said to you guys, what's the first secret of great marketing? You would say ad hoc marketing does not work. Keep doing it. Drip feed. That will keep you off the feast and famine, and it'll stop you from spending silly money on marketing tools and tactics that don't work. What's the second secret of great marketing? Do more of what works and less of what doesn't. And that's about measuring your marketing. Measure, watch what's going on, and that's the best way to stop spending money on your marketing. So, what next? Couple of little offers for you. To say thank you for you guys taking part in this webinar, I have a lovely special offer for you. Magnetic Marketing, which is my book all about how to promote your services as a consultant. It's a 9-stage process that we've been going through today, but there's a lot more detail in there. It's a workbook, so you can scribble all over it and really get to grips with it. As of today, it's available on my website for just £9.99 instead of £15.99 plus a bit of postage. That's the website address you need to go and grab a copy. In September, I'm launching an email course which will take you through the 9 stages. So every week you'll get an email full of tips and ideas and guidance. And this is the one that I mentioned earlier. It's being tested. It's had some rave reviews. I'm really looking forward to launching that. If you're interested, go and sign up to my newsletter, and we'll make sure that we tell you about the course when it comes out. Scribbles is my email newsletter. It comes out every month. It's stuffed full of marketing advice. It's completely free. There's no salesy stuff in there. Sometimes I mention some nice workshops that are coming up. So if you'd like that, go and sign up at my website. There's a sign-up form there. And we will also, as I said, send you the marketing email course. Now, that's it from me on the theory of marketing. I'm hoping that we have some questions that I can answer for you guys.
I think if you're a marketing person, there must be a load of networking events you can go to, because you've got, Federation of Small Business, you've got a whole load of things that you can do.
There are loads, yeah.
If you're a market researcher, just give me an idea of what sort of networking event, in other words, what sort of audiences we might try and go for, and also, how do we then, start the appropriate conversations? Because I think, what you do, I think, is a little bit easier to sell than what we do. Maybe I'm being completely wrong. I don't know.
Okay.
But just give us an idea of recommendations for networking if you're a market researcher.
Okay, so 2 very good questions. Thank you for asking those, because they are they do apply to everyone. So for events to go to, it's really going to depend on who your target audience is. So I specifically work with small businesses. The majority of my clients there's one person in the business, up to kind of 3, 4, 5, 6. So for me, I do go to things like the FSB, the Federation of Small Businesses, to their events. I go to something called the Professional Speaking Association events, because all of the people who go to the PSA, the majority of them are one-man bands. So that's ideal for me. So it's really, for you guys, it's really about getting clear on who your clients are and finding out where they hang out. Now, if you specialize in working in a particular industry, look at the industry events to go to. Are there trade associations that you can go to where your clients go, the events that they attend, where they hang out? Those would be good ones to go to. And then another idea is to look for local business events, because networking isn't just about finding clients in the room. It's about becoming known to more people. It's called selling through the room. So quite often I go to networking events and I meet people who say, well, I don't need you, but I know somebody who does. So in the local area, I occasionally go to local FSB events because it just gets my name out there. So that's the first one. How to start conversations. Please, please, please do not walk up to somebody and say, hello, what do you do? because they will corner you and they will spend 10, 20, 30 minutes telling you what they do and how great they are. So the thing, I actually wrote a list of 101 alternative openers for networking. It's on my, I put them out as tweets. It's actually on my website as a blog, I think. And I came up with all these different ones. So I walk up to people and say, hello, how's business? Or my favourite one actually is, do you come here often? Which usually gets a bit of a smile or a giggle out of people, because it just breaks the ice. The problem with the what do you do question is most people don't have a good answer to it. So a lot of people go, oh, I don't know. So you're much better off, unfortunately, going for the small talk. So if you're on a boat, talk about boats. You know, do you come here often? Or isn't this an amazing place? Or what brings you here tonight? Or do you have an interest in boats? You know, if I go to an event in a really nice location, an interesting venue, I'll talk to people about the venue and ask them about, you know, do they know about it? I also ask people about, I get them into conversations about networking, which works very well for me. So I can say things like, you know, do you come here often? How much networking do you do? Does it work for your business? Which gets me into a marketing conversation with them. So you're leading them through to getting them to be saying, oh, no, actually, I don't do very much marketing. So for you guys, it might be a case of saying things like, where's your business going this year? Do you know where it's going? Do you know who your clients are? How do you find out about new products or services to launch? Which could then give you the marketing research angle.
And I suppose, I think that's right. From our point of view, a fairly easy entry into that would be, you know, what do your customers think of the services you provide? You know?
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah. And when did you last ask them what they think of you? So
I've got a heap of questions coming in. Let's just try and get through a few more.
Okay.
This is from Nanda Marchant. How often do you think you need to reappraise and refresh your whole plan?
It's a regular thing. I would say look at it monthly. So spend a bit of time. I actually meet up every 3 months with my business advisors, and we look through my marketing plan then. If you're only just starting out with a marketing plan, I would look at it monthly and look at do some measurement. What's working, what isn't, because there's no point in doing something for a year and then going, oh, actually that didn't work. But equally, don't look at it after a month and go, it didn't work. You need to give things time. So looking at it on a monthly basis to check what's going on. Once you get a plan that works, stick with it and just keep an eye on it, make sure you're doing it. So I very rarely have to completely revamp my marketing plan or any marketing plans for clients. So, but a refresh and
yeah, sometimes you just mentioned every 3 months I have a meeting with my business advisors. Who are they?
Yes. They are two great guys who run a company called SR Consulting, who keep me on track. So in my business, I have one admin assistant who works for me and a big team of freelancers. So there's nobody else in my business who I can sit down with on a regular basis and go, are we going in the right direction? Or I've got this great new idea. What do you think? So that's why I meet with them. So I think it's vital to have that outside input. Other people use business coaches or a mentor or a life coach, whatever. So yeah, really, really important to find support outside the business. Partly the guys are really good because they challenge me, and I have a bit of a habit of going, oh, got this great new idea, and they'll go, no, or let's look at it
I think
sensibly.
that's a sound piece of advice for us all.
Yeah.
I've got another question. This is from Jill Elston. What's your view on the effectiveness of Google Ads for consultants?
Google are changing the way they do things. So you might have noticed that when you search on Google now, you no longer get ads popping up on the right-hand side of the page. I think it's the top 4 listings that you now get will be paid for searches, which means that the organic ones come in below that and onto page 2. The proportion of people who actually click on those links is really, really low. So I personally don't think that they work for consultants, because you're selling a service. People are buying you, your time, your expertise. I don't think they work. I don't think anyone is going to buy you from a few words on a paid-for ad. They might buy a book. They might sign up to a newsletter. So if you've got something, if you can productize your service into a book, a download, a newsletter, those are quite good for being promoted on AdWords. The email course that I'm doing, we might look at doing some paid-for advertising for that, but that's because it's quite an easy. It's a thing to buy rather than something. So no, I'm not a huge fan of paid for advertising for services.
Okay. Now I've got a very great question, but this is a question that might take a few hours to answer. It's from Arkanksha Haran. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly there, Arkanksha, who says, I am currently a freelancer looking to start my own company to provide additional services and have my own clients rather than work for agencies. It's quite common as a consultant to work for other research agencies.
Yeah.
My biggest stumbling block is how to start. I know you've given some great tips, but anything specific to my situation would be great. You have 60 seconds.
Okay, brilliant question. Work through the plan, work through what we've gone through today. So in particular, get clear on what makes you different from all of the other people out there. Set your objectives and then get clear on, so your strategy is going to be number 4, unfortunately. It's selling new services to new clients. Unless you can use your existing services that you do through agencies, but you'll still be selling them to new clients. Get clear on who those ideal clients are, because it sounds a bit odd and we've rattled through it today, but once you've gone through those first 4 stages, it does then become much clearer as to what marketing you actually need to do. And I do come across this a lot with consultants who are working with agencies. I get it a lot with trainers. They work with a lot of associates and they're looking for their own work. So one thing to do is make sure you have recommendations from your associate clients. Get recommendations on LinkedIn, because then if you're out and about talking to people, or you're looking on LinkedIn for the type of businesses that you want to be working with, if they look at your profile, they're going to see those recommendations. So it's always worth using, even though you've worked with somebody as an associate. It's really good to have recommendations, and you can put them on your website too. In terms of being clear about who your ideal clients are, if there's a particular industry that you can identify, go for that, and then start looking for these businesses on LinkedIn. That's a really nice way of approaching them, and do lots on LinkedIn in terms of things like publishing updates and articles. And that was probably more than 60 seconds, wasn't it?
Yes, but great. And in terms of LinkedIn, our next webinar is all about LinkedIn. So ideal timing and promotion for that. I've got 5 questions and we've got 5 minutes. Let's see if we can rattle through.
Okay.
This is from Helena Gilmore. I've spoken at seminars, etc. How do I make the most of them?
Oh, very good question. So to start with, every time you're asked to speak, find out how much promotion the organisers are going to do. The ICG are absolutely brilliant on Twitter. They've been tweeting about this webinar and about me for months. It's been great. So find out about that. Find out before you speak if you can get a list of the attendees of who's going to be there. Find out how much you can market to them afterwards. So the fact that the ICG are going to be sending out details of this webinar to all of the members, whether they're on the call today or not, is great for me. So that was one of the reasons I was interested in speaking today. Find out how much you can actually promote yourself on the day. So are you to take flyers, leaflets? Are you allowed to promote a course? Find out, yeah, some places don't like you doing that, but some places do, because if you're not being paid to speak, then there's often an opportunity to promote yourself.
Well, I'd like to just pick up on that one. Sorry to interrupt you, Chantal, but you mentioned flyers. I think it's quite common these days for people to have a website presence of some sort, whether it's on LinkedIn or wherever, but some sort of web presence and a business card. Okay, that would be the stock in trade. For us, do you think that paper, brochures, leaflets for researchers has any relevance?
I do, yes, because fewer people are using printed materials these days, which means that when you do use it, it's quite unusual. So if I'm speaking at an event, a face-to-face event, so the last one I actually did this 9-stage course that we've been through. I had a couple of hours to go through it, so I gave everybody a handout that was printed on my letterhead, so it has my contact details on and my branding. It gave people space to write down answers to all the stuff we've been through today. So they took it away. So they have that somewhere on their desk. So in that sense, yes. And I'm not talking huge glossy brochures. You don't need to spend a fortune, but having something that people can look at and use and keep. Just a flyer, I suppose, with some details on isn't necessarily going to do it. It's going to be something that people will keep hold of and use. And people have said to me, yeah, I kept that handout that you gave for months and had it on my desk. So that's the sort of thing. Look for something that they're going to keep hold of.
Okay, I've got it's more of a comment here. This is from Keith Hewitt, who says, super stuff, Chantal.
Thank you, Keith.
Can I suggest for those not comfortable with blogging that you can use LinkedIn Pulse, which allows you to write articles? So that's just a recommendation from Keith, so thanks for that. And you can also join interested groups where clients also lurk. We know
absolutely, yeah.
Lurking. So anyway, we'll learn more about the whole LinkedIn thing in a few weeks' time. Now,
that's good.
I've got a question here from Andrew Smith, which I don't want you to answer, because Andrew says, so what have you advised over the years for Martin Hollis? I know about the regular newsletter.
I'll let Martin answer that one.
Yes, Martin, associate, not dissimilar to me, which was quickly followed by a question from Martin, who says, comment, publishing a monthly newsletter is a great way of staying on people's radar screen in a very low-key way, a bit like low-key networking. It's amazing how many people will make contact after receiving a newsletter saying, I've got a brief I'd like you to quote on. So there we are. That's the advice you've given Martin, and that's the result that Martin's got. So we can quickly move over that one. Okay.
Thanks,
and 2 questions. This is from Jeff Dayton. How do you identify which new contacts you make are just using you with no intention of working with you?
Oh, nice one. Yeah, you will always meet people who will pick your brains and say, oh, could I just ask such and such? Now, I've grown my business on generosity, on giving people advice. So if any of you guys who are on the call today, if you have any questions about marketing, phone me, send me an email, tweet me, and I will do whatever I can to answer the questions for you. If you keep asking, at some point, I will probably say, yeah, okay, I think perhaps now we need to spend some time together and I want to charge you for it. Or why don't you buy a copy of the book, because that has all the answers in there. So you just have to gauge it individually. I have had people in the past who've just pushed and pushed, and you kind of get a gut feeling in the end for the fact that they're never going to spend any money with you. they're just pushing and pushing. And if you then say to them, yes, I can answer that, that will cost you an hour of my time. If they go away and you don't hear from them again, you know that they're not an ideal client. If they say, oh yeah, absolutely, then you're in. So that's just kind of the way to test it out with each different person.
And our final question is from John Gilbert, who says, you've not mentioned creating a database. How important is this in the marketing plan?
It's vital. And yeah, I should probably put that into the mix somewhere. So database is about collecting the information from the contacts that you make, the prospects, and also the clients that you work with. So the database that I use, everybody who goes onto it starts out as a prospect, and we do clever things on ours, so we can rank people whether they're high, medium, or low as a prospect. High prospects get Christmas cards. Medium and low ones don't, and I check it on a fairly regular basis, so that if somebody starts out as a hot prospect and I have a conversation and they say, no, actually we haven't got any money, then I'll downgrade them to low, and they don't get a Christmas card. We do similar stuff with clients in that they're all ranked A, B, C, D. I'll tell you one day what they stand for, and we use that a lot. We use the database for things like, particularly with prospects, for putting in a forward contact date. So I actually had a conversation with a prospect this morning, and he said, phone me back in 3 weeks' time, because after then I will have a clearer idea, because I will have had a conversation with my colleagues. So I've put that contact date into the database, and I will produce a report every week that says, these are the contacts you need to follow up with. I also store things like birthdays in my database, so I know the birthdays of lots of my clients and my prospects. I know what their dogs are called. I know how many children they have. I know where they last went on holiday. I know what I spoke to them about on the last sort of phone call we had, so I can pick up on it. So yeah, database, absolutely vital. Doesn't need to be big and expensive. It could be a spreadsheet. It could be Outlook, but make sure it's not in your head, and make sure it's not just a pile of business cards.
Wow, that's another topic, is what you put on your database. Dog's
Yeah.
name, my goodness. Okay, well look, that's the end of the presentation, and I'd like to thank Chantal for a fantastic presentation. Well done, Chantal. Thank you.